$3 million for girl-centric climate change. Maybe there's not a witness here. Maybe it's not serious. But I don't hear anybody explaining why we should continue to do that.
Elon Musk and Trump, and we don't know what all they have on us.
In this video, I'm going to share all the crazy news stories that the mainstream media will not talk about. So sit tight because you're going to hear some wild things. Now first, congratulations, America. We have done it. We've finally put someone in charge of the health system who hates all the corruption that plagues this very system. And in his first speech as the HHS secretary, RFK Jr. looked like a man who had just achieved his life goal.
For 20 years, I've gotten up every morning on my knees and prayed that God would put me in a position where I can end the childhood chronic disease epidemic in this country. On August 23rd of last year, God sent me President Trump. All right. And he gave me... He's now given me, he's kept every promise that he's made to me. He's kept his word in every account and gone way beyond it. I'm so grateful to you, Mr. President. A lot of people told me that I couldn't trust President Trump. I better get it in writing. And we did a handshake, and everything that he told me he was going to do, he has done.
Now, even though he looks emotional, don't let that fool you. He is the ruthless, fact-oriented guy who wants to bring Big Pharma to its knees. Now, the funny thing is, just before the final vote, Chuck Schumer tried to use his trump card to stop RFK from getting confirmed. And you definitely need to see this.
Previous HHS secretaries have had a pharmaceutical industry background, have been a state health commissioner, have run health systems, have been governors. Somebody who has had a background in actually administering the programs that HHS administers. I ask my colleagues, which of these qualifications does RFK possess? You know the answer, none of them.
Is this guy serious? I mean, the only reason Americans love RFK Jr. is because the guy has never been a part of our horrifying health mafia. He doesn't get any money from Pfizer or any other Fortune 500 pharmaceutical company, and that's why he is most likely to go after them. In other news, Democrats are now starting to snitch on themselves. I mean, just listen to what Representative Maxine Waters just admitted.
People of this country are being violated because all of our privacy is being taken up by Elon Musk and Trump, and we don't know what all they have on us. We don't know what all they have on us.
I guess you can see why Google searches for the word lawyer have increased by 400% in the last couple of months. And as for why Elon is allowed to search these records, well, here's your answer.
Is nothing but a smokescreen to hide the corruption and the wasteful spending that has occurred there. And I am personally offended at the left's continued references to 19-year-olds and 21-year-olds in there doing work. There are 19-year-olds who have won the Medal of Honor defending this country.
It's funny that Democrats are now screaming at people who want to cut spending when their own presidents loved the idea.
This report tells us how to cut waste, cut red tape, streamline the bureaucracy, change procurement rules, change the personnel rules, and create a government that works better and costs less.
I've read it, and where it says the president should, the president will.
Among the 800 recommendations, eliminating 12% of the federal workforce, merging some government agencies like the FBI, the DEA, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms.
Better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. We thought that it was entirely appropriate for our governments and our agencies to try to root out waste, large and small, in a systematic way.
I think it has nothing to do with helping poor countries and saving jobs. The only reason some Dems are trying to save agencies like USAID is because nobody wants to lose their golden goose.
The gravy train, for a lot of these folks, it's been on biscuit wheels, and it's about to run off the dadgum tracks, and it's about time. Could you imagine standing up here and defending waste, fraud, and abuse. But I think that's what we're seeing. When people squeal and don't ask questions, I think it shows the American public what the heck's going on. And that little gravy train is getting ready to run out. The spigot is getting ready to be turned off.
And while we are talking about Elon, did you know that he is now going against the EPA?
DOGE is already in the building at an all-staff meeting, and it's been reported today in EPA. A number of EPA employees were told essentially that their jobs were not secure and essentially that they might be escorted out of the building.
Now it's just how to get the money out as fast as possible before they come in and top it off. It truly feels like we're on the Titanic. We're throwing gold bars off the.
The gold bars were tax dollars, and tossing them off the Titanic meant the Biden administration knew they were wasting it. Fortunately, my awesome team at EPA has found the gold bars. Shockingly, roughly $20 billion of your tax dollars were parked at an outside financial institution by the Biden EPA. This scheme was the first of its kind in EPA history, and it was purposefully designed to obligate all of the money in a rush job with reduced oversight. Even further, this pot of $20 billion was awarded to just 8 entities that were then responsible for doling out your money to NGOs and others at their discretion with far less transparency. Just under $7 billion was sent to one entity called the Climate United Fund.
Considering how much geoengineering and weather modification we've seen in recent years, he might actually uncover some very scary things while going down this rabbit hole. And speaking of geoengineering, Iowa has just joined a group of GOP-led states that are trying to pass anti-chemtrail bills. Now, Tennessee has already enacted such a ban, while similar bills have also been introduced in Florida, Arizona, and Kentucky. It would be very interesting to see how many other states also introduce these bills because, remember, Kamala Harris has already hinted at what's coming.
In adaptation and resilience, and we have to understand these extreme weather occurrences are extreme, but they are increasingly less rare.
Moving on, let's talk about someone who seems to be sweating bullets every time a camera focuses on him. I'm, of course, talking about Adam Schiff, who's not even answering media questions now that Kash Patel has cleared the Senate Judiciary Committee and will likely be confirmed next week.
Senator Schiff, are Senate Judiciary Democrats slow-walking Kash Patel's confirmation as FBI director so the FBI can keep warning illegal immigrants?
In fact, Senator Schiff looked on the verge of tears as he explained how Kash Patel is bad for the poor FBI.
He is not someone you would ever think of when you think of fidelity, bravery, integrity. Not when he was a staffer, not when he was in the Trump administration. In fact, the people who speak most damningly of Kash Patel are the people who worked with him in the administration. People like Bill Barr, who for a lesser position said over my dead body when asked about Kash Patel. It is just a tragedy for the FBI that it comes to this. I can't imagine the demoralization at the FBI and at the Department of Justice. The damage will be long standing.
I think he wanted to cry because he knows his ass is first on Mr. Patel's list because of what he has said in the past.
On the day Donald Trump leaves office, the Justice Department may indict him.
Very strongly in favor of indicting the president when he is out of office.
I don't think the incoming president should be threatening his political opponents with jail time. That's not the kind of talk we should hear from a president in a democracy.
And as for that collusion story, independent journalists are now telling us that it was also funded by our very own USAID.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to understand that USAID viewed this very holistically. And it's important, if you look at the Hunter Biden laptop case, which is an extremely important case to understand, because the FBI was weaponized, then it weaponized the Aspen Institute to brainwash the entire media.
Those tactics were then turned against the American people after the populist revolutions of 2016. First, you saw Russiagate, the idea, this wild conspiracy theory that President Trump was somehow controlled through a blackmail operation by the Russians.
So let's just hope Kash Patel gets confirmed soon so we can finally find out more about the culprits behind this conspiracy. And while we are talking about conspiracies, do you remember those help signs found in a Los Angeles railway yard? Well, the guy who was investigating that wild story has just posted an update on it.
So I just spoke to that officer over there, and yeah, they cleared out the place completely. So everything is gone now, like I said, except for a few cars. He was unaware of the help signs. He said something about swatting, so I think he misunderstood what I was asking, because that's not swatting. And as far as I asked if they retrieved any dogs, and they said no, it was just people and the RV and a bunch of cars. So I don't know. I'm going to come back again, and I'm going to go around the area right now. It's late at night, but it should be empty just to check it out.
I think we all knew this was going to happen. As soon as someone discovered that something shady was going on in that yard, all evidence was removed from the face of this earth. For some reason, I doubt our investigator will even find those homeless people again. Now, I would like to end this video with a crazy story that shows how we never own anything in this country and it's all just an illusion.
Even if you own 37 acres of land, the government will still control your land. Did y'all know that? Because I didn't know that, and I just walked into the municipal building. Okay, I'm gonna put a tiny home on my property. And he immediately said, nope, you can't do that. I was like, what? What are you talking about? I have 37 acres. There's plenty of room to put a tiny home. Nope, you can't do that. You're zoned to have one house on your property. I'm like, dude, my property is massive, okay? And this is for my kids' future, to have a tiny home. Ultimately, I want three little tiny homes in the back corner of our property. Nope, you can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? No. Zoning is planned for your, I'm like, what plans does the government have for my property? I don't understand what you're saying to me. And you could tell this guy had never gotten any pushback, because I was pushing back. Like, you're telling me I can't put a tiny home on my property for my children to live in when they're 18, 19, 20, young adults. What are you talking about? No, it's not zoned for that. Okay, so rezone it. And then he's like, well, there's a floodplain here. And I was like, he said 100-year floodplain. I said, well, what year are we on? He couldn't tell me. He's like, it doesn't work like that. I was like, what do you mean? What year are we on? Because we put a drain tile in, so I know it's not flooding back there, okay? So what year is your 100-year floodplain plan?
Let me know what you guys think about all these insane stories. Who do you think is most scared of RFK Jr.? Do you think there was more to that help sign mystery? Feel free to share your thoughts with everyone in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video.